Hey, this is David from You Can't Laugh at That. Just wanted to put a little disclaimer / warning / heads up that this episode of the podcast features a joke and a conversation that dives deep into an attempted suicide. And so if that's something that you're uncomfortable with right now, just wanted to let you know. But the most important thing is that this is more of a story of someone who was in such a dark place, was able to get the help that he needed, come to terms with it, and use humor in a way that he connected it with other people to share a positive, uplifting message. Enjoy this episode of You Can't Laugh at That as we prove that you can laugh at mental health. Welcome to You Can't Laugh at That, the podcast where we take topics you can't laugh at and we find ways to laugh at them in the never-ending quest to prove that anything can be funny. Joining Steve and I today, first of all, say hi, Steve.
Hello.
All right, good one. Joining us today is Brendan Eyre from Cleveland, Ohio, formerly of New York City, and he's been on Seth Meyers. You can catch him on SiriusXM if you listen to that. He's been at JFL, and you can listen to his podcast, the Rad Dudecast, with You Can't Laugh at That alum Greg Stone and Anthony DeVito. Welcome to the podcast, Brendan. How's it going?
Oh man, it's great. And Steve, I want to shoot straight with you. That was a good one, you know. And I thought David said that a little facetiously.
Yeah,
but the way you said hello, I enjoyed it. I thought that was a nice way of saying I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah. Well, see, I've heard it week in and week out. It's just like, work on the bit a little bit more, Steve.
What?
I'm just saying, I've heard that bit over and over again every week.
No, what?
What?
I love what I'm getting from Steve right now. I love this interview. It's going to be a good one.
First of all, let's just, I want to play the bit that you sent me.
All right.
Because I remember hearing that when you were at Hilarities and thinking, this is so fucking heavy, but it's so well done. Like, I laughed so hard. And it was interesting to watch the audience respond to it. Because I was there for a couple nights that weekend.
Yeah.
Watching because I enjoyed watching you like working out material, and that's what I was doing when cases were a little bit further down, is I would go for a weekend and see how the headliner would progress as the material through from Thursday night to Saturday.
Oh, cool.
And it was cool to watch the reaction every night and like how you kind of tweaked it.
I was talking to Chad Daniels, and he saw me do that material and was when I first was a little nervous about doing it, and was like a big supporter of it, because I haven't done it a ton. I kind of it was quite some time ago when I had some real mental health problems, and then it took me a while to really want to get into it on stage, and then COVID hit. So I really haven't done it a ton on stage. I've done it more talking to people on podcasts and that sort of stuff, but I haven't really done that whole chunk on stage. But Chad, I was like talking to Chad about being nervous about doing it on the road, where it's like, road crowds can be a little less cerebral, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, dude, he's like, you got to remember, like, even if they're not laughing, if they're quiet, you're doing your job. Like, if they're listening, if they're quiet, it means they're interested. Like, they're being entertained. Like, that's okay. What happened was the blanket wrench, it stretched out, and so I was just hung on the floor with my toes, but I had tied the knot really good, I couldn't go anywhere. And so I was standing there hung for a little bit, and then finally I just had to be like, Mom! Mom, I hung myself, but the blanket stretched right down the knot too good. And then she couldn't hear me, so she goes, I'm on the phone! So then I had to be like, okay, just wherever you get a chance. So first of all, I apologize for the quality. I haven't had a chance with COVID and just kind of being kind of newly working on this mental health chunk. I haven't had a chance to get a good clip of some of this stuff, and it's still a work in progress. I don't really post like a lot of it. That was just a clip I had posted to TikTok, and it had to be edited down a little bit for time, I think. So if you didn't catch what was happening, because I think the beginning got cut off there, I hung myself. I think that was apparent, but if you didn't catch that, that's what happened. And you know, the bit is like it's okay. First of all, like for me, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a philosopher. You know, like for me, everything has to be funny first. Like I'm a stand-up, and that's what I want to do. So if it's not funny to me, then like I'm not just gonna tell something to fucking make a point, you know. Like, but in hindsight, obviously, attempting suicide was not funny at all to me or to my family at the time. In hindsight, it became funny, and the reason I'm comfortable. What makes me feel okay about making light of my own suicide attempt is that there is a point to it, and that is that like, and I do a bit of the reason I put a warning on it on TikTok is because when I do it live, I kind of more able to ease into it and kind of tell people the reason I'm making light of this. But you know, in TikTok, that's just going to slam up on your feed, and that's a whole nother story. People were furious that I put a warning on it. That was a whole argument on TikTok. But
what do you mean they were furious?
So that joke kind of blew up a little bit on TikTok. It has like 1.6 million views, and the responses have been overwhelmingly positive. But the two negatives that I get are people being like, fucking snowflake culture. This guy shouldn't have to put a warning on his video. And it's like, dude, I don't have to put a warning on my video. Nobody made me put a warning. I put a warning on it in case there's some dude whose fucking brother hung himself yesterday and is on TikTok trying to watch some girls twerk and doesn't want to hear a hanging story. That's why I put a warning on it. Like, because I fucking wanted to. Like, so shut up, you know? Like, it's everything has to be like, look what cancel culture has made this dude do. And it's like, no, I chose to do that. Like, and I could have not chose to do it. Like, it's up to me. Shut up. And then then there has been another negative reaction, which is fine, which is you can't joke about this, that's the interesting one, because that's the one where my initial instinct, let me go back to what I was saying. What I was saying was the purpose of that joke, really, behind being funny, you know, after being funny, the purpose of that joke is to show, and this is overwhelmingly the feedback I've gotten from telling that story on podcasts and being really open about that scenario and having been suicidal and attempted suicide. I've actually attempted suicide twice, but that was the funnier of the two, so I went with that one. The feedback has overwhelmingly been, oh, thank you so much for sharing this and making me realize that it can get better. And that's the point of it. The point of it is Jesus Christ, I'm so happy that didn't work. Yeah. Because look at me now. I'm up on stage telling jokes. My life is good. So if you're in that spot, guess what? I know you feel hopeless. I know what it feels like. I've been there. It can change. It can change. It changed for me. Like, that's the point of it, right? Like, that's why I want to talk about that, because I want to show people, like, but I do get it. Like, my initial instinct when someone makes a comment, you can't fucking joke about that. You can't joke. That's not funny. And my brother died of suicide. You know, my initial instinct is to be like, fuck you. I can joke about whatever I want. You know, that's my initial instinct. But then I have to remember, like, why are they feeling that way? You know, they're feeling that way because obviously, like, this triggered something in them that hurts, that like this brought up a painful memory or brought up something they fear could happen to them. Like, so, I do understand that reaction, but in the few conversations I've had, I don't really respond to comments, but when someone will message me, like I had someone very politely like message me and ask me to take that joke down, and was like super polite and was like, this is why, like, this is not a funny subject. This people die from this, like, and was super polite, said he was a huge fan of my comedy. And I had a conversation with them and we just basically agreed to disagree. And I was like, hey man, I get it. Like, I get it. I totally get it. That's why I put a warning on the TikTok version. If you saw me live, I would ease you into this. It's also something I'm working out, figuring out how to talk about. But here's the reason I'm talking about it, because I'm better. Because, like, look, I still suffer from mental illness. Like, I still, I take medicine. I have to do all this shit and stuff. But I'm productive. I'm generally happy. I have a fiance. I have a kid, like my life is good. And like that was coming from a place in 2017 where I put a fucking blanket around my neck and hung myself because I literally, not because I wanted to die, I wanted to live desperately, but because I just wanted this horrific mental pain to end so badly that I thought there was no other way. And there was another way, and that's the point of it. And so it's like, it's hard to argue with someone who just disagrees with that, and I don't want to argue with them. I'm allowed to tell it, and I'm going to tell you why I'm telling it. But like, I do get that side of it where you think that's a unbroachable subject. I just happen to disagree.
Yeah. How do you approach that with somebody who says that? I mean, you said you had a conversation with them, you agreed to disagree, but do you just tell them what you told us?
Yeah, I just said, hey man, I said, listen, I totally understand that, and I'm so sorry that brought up some really bad feelings for you, but I am sharing that story to show the world that you can get better. And I will also tell you that the response I've gotten from that joke, which was largely the biggest feedback I've gotten from, I shared that story on the Girls Gotta Eat podcast, which has a really huge listenership. And then that TikTok video kind of blew up a little bit. So that's where I've been getting feedback. And I told the guy, I was like, I gotta be honest, like, the overwhelming majority of feedback has been thanking me for sharing that and making someone feel okay or normal about their attempt, or making someone who is depressed feel like, hey, maybe there is hope. Like, like it's by far, I've never had a joke, and I don't, my comedy's pretty silly and goofy, for the most part. So it makes sense, but I've never had a joke that's gotten any type of people that I don't know contacting me to the level of that joke. And I should say to your listeners, it's a work in progress. It's like that joke is the suicide part is kind of the end of, like, I guess what's now up to maybe like a 15 or 16 minute chunk about, long story short, I've had mental health issues my whole life. In 2016, my medicine changed and just everything stopped working. All my medicine stopped working, and I kind of had a breakdown and things went to shit, and kind of was institutionalized in and out of psych wards and mental hospitals and all that shit. But that's the basis of the chunk.
No, you build up to it, because if you were to start the whole bit with that, no one's on board. Right. You can't just be like, and now. Right.
Yeah, it's hard to slip into anyway. Like, even as the chunk builds up, it's hard because I don't talk about a lot of serious things. Like, and it's just because, like I said, I talk about what I think is funny, and like I tend to gravitate towards like absurdism, and just like silliness. Like that's what's funny to me. And so it's hard to talk about like fucking Lunchables or like some jack off joke and then be like, okay, now mental health time, like it's a tough, that's what I've been struggling with figuring out. Before COVID, I was starting to realize that it was working the best when I kind of just directly said it. When I was kind of just directly like, okay, things are going to get a little bit more serious for a second now, but trust me, it's going to be okay. Just stick with me, like just straight. Like I was avoiding doing that because I was like, that seems weird, and then I just kind of embraced it as just tell them the tone is going to change. It's going to be fine. I'm in control. Like no one's gonna get hurt. Like and I don't know. It does make me feel bad when somebody is negatively affected by it. But I think that the pros outweigh the cons by a lot, I think, in terms of the response. And then B, I know my motivation for talking about it. And then C, it is my story. It did happen to me. I did do that. So I do have a right to talk about it. Like if you don't like it, don't like. It's funny that people on TikTok were mad, but it's like, I put a fucking warning on it for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Do we just not talk about it? It's
right.
More helpful for more people what you're doing, the way you do it, versus, let's just keep this thing in the shadows, because that's what we've been doing for so long as a society, like mental health and suicidal thoughts and things like that. Like those are taboo. So we just didn't talk about them as the problem kept getting worse.
Or like, what's better? Like me saying it in a way that's funny and demonstrably, that's a tough word to pronounce. Is it demonstrably? Demonstrably?
Yeah.
See, that sounds worse. That's one of those words. It should be demonstrably, but demonstrably am better, am improved, am cured, not cured, but like you can see that I'm better. So is that more effective, telling it funny and then showing them the results, or just some doctor on a talk show going, hey kids, it gets better, don't make that choice, like what's the more effective fucking way to talk about it? I think my way. I'm not saying we shouldn't do both ways, but it's like, like I'm literally a living example of like, hey, me trying to kill myself was a horrible decision, and I'm so grateful it didn't work out, so grateful it didn't work out. Like I'm so grateful I did it wrong, and I'm going to tell you about it. In case you're in that spot, you might see that now my life is good. Like, I don't know. The whole thing. I get a little frustrated with the people saying I can't do it. Cause it's like, you're missing you're missing the, like, I don't know. I also have the whole country of, I sort of accidentally blew up on TikTok. Cause I joined TikTok and, realized I liked it because I was so sick. I was sick of social media and TikTok. I don't have to follow anyone. Like your jokes get put in front of people that don't follow you, and then they can follow you. And it's just like, I just throw shit up there and go away. I don't have to like, and the whole country of Greece is furious with me for this joke. I have a joke about, when I ran a marathon one time, and I have a joke about, how the marathon got its name, and it's this the Greek messenger that ran from the Battle of Marathon to deliver the news of the battle, and then he immediately dropped dead. And basically the joke is just like, I don't even do the joke very often anymore, but the joke is kind of like how it's ironic that we honor this man by running the exact distance which killed him. You know what I mean? Like, just like kind of a slap. It goes on. It's not the best bit in the world. But anyway, the Greeks are fucking furious with inaccuracies in the joke. And I am just the public enemy number one in Greece. And I'm so close. Like, I'm trying to be nice about it, but I'm so close to being like, motherfuckers, this happened in 600 BC. It's a legend, if anything. This was written down before the Bible. No one agrees on even what this guy's name is, and you're telling me I'm dishonoring him and have the facts of the story wrong. And it's just like,
yeah, right. Right next to their Greek Orthodox Jesus painting is the dude dead on crumpled in a crumpled heap on the ground.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though, is like you can't write jokes like you write jokes to make other people laugh, sure, but you can't write jokes for other people because there's gonna be somebody that doesn't like it.
I'm now only writing jokes to offend Greeks.
Yeah,
that's my avenue right now.
You gotta work some lines in about the Battle of Marathon. Nobody talks about the Battle of Thermopylae anymore.
Baklava, more like shitlava. Am I right?
Right. Hey, how's that economy going over there? We had to send you Tom Hanks to help.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about your bit, I know you close the bit with that message, with like saying, you know, I'm so happy that things are better now, and that it didn't work. And if I remember, I think one of the shows, maybe a couple of the shows, you got like an applause break at that point where people were like, So
that's why I think live live is better, because just throwing that clip up out of context, you don't quite get what. And it's interesting, man, because some of the comics who I've I've talked to guys who do like kind of more serious storytelling stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm scared to kind of work on this stuff, because like I'm at the point where I work these clubs and I make a good living, but like I'm not a draw. I got to worry about coming back, like if I'm at the Wichita Looney Bin, I got to make sure I do well enough that I'm back next year. Like I need that on my schedule, money wise, so it's like, I am scared to like veer from what I know is funny, like the subjects I know is funny and the new jokes I know are funny, to be like, okay, I'm going to try 20 minutes on mental health. And like it's been really nice, because like the guys who I know who kind of do more of that type of comedy have been like, what you're doing, you're underestimating crowds right now, because what you don't know is like what you're not taking into account. It doesn't fucking matter like what your station in life is, what part of the country you live in. Someone or in your family or you has been impacted by mental illness. Like you're underestimating that fact. And once I was told that enough times, I started just not being as afraid to do it. And I realized it's so true. It's like it doesn't really matter. People relate to it everywhere, kind of like. It's not. I was underestimating crowds and thinking like they don't want this serious shit. They're out for, they got a babysitter there for their one night out a month. They don't want to hear depressing shit. And it's like, no, man, like if it's funny enough, they want to hear it, like right. It's not I'm not up there talking about fucking science, I mean, I suppose it's a type of science, but I'm not explaining science or something boring, I'm telling a story. So.
Right. And like you said, would they rather hear it from some boring like doctor on a talk show, or hear it from you? I mean, you could, the old adage of if you want to make a point, tell a story, but if you want to make several points at once, make them laugh. And
right.
That's what this is. It does have that impact, because when you laugh at something, like you remember that more than if somebody were to tell you, hey, you'll get through this. Just
right.
It gets better.
Yeah. I'm gonna do another. I want to do a joke, and this one I feel weird about because it's not really my experience, but I kind of want to do another suicide joke, and I think it's goofy enough that it's fine. But like, the world record for the high dive is 192 feet, but there's a guy that attempted suicide off the Golden Gate Bridge and lived. And I feel like 225 feet is 225 feet. Like, it shouldn't matter what you're going for. You know what I mean? Like, that guy deserves the world record, if you ask me. But so I'm going to do a bit on that. That was the bit. So that's all I have so far. But
yeah, the form doesn't matter. He's still.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
He jumped 35 feet higher than that other guy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
give him the fucking award. You could probably use it.
Right? Give him a little something to make his day a little bit better. He needs it.
Yeah.
He needs it just because he didn't do this first.
Right. Yeah. Just because he wasn't wearing a Speedo and some tape.
Right. And yeah, the splash was big. It's
yeah. Yeah. We're talking height, not score. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't laugh at that.
With that bit, when did you decide to start doing it? Like, what made you think to yourself, oh, this can be a bit, like, this is funny?
Oh man. Well, I think as soon as I kind of came to grips with the fact that I could do comedy again, I mean, not to get too into like just being a mental health podcast, but like, I mean, that happened in June of 2017, and I was essentially out of comedy totally out of comedy until the spring of 2018, and for the next probably 5 months after that happened, I really thought I would never have any type of productive life. And that's the other thing. Like, if people come up to me after shows and really want to have a discussion about mental health or something like that, I tell them, I'll talk about like, yeah, man, it's a fucking process. Like, that you gotta just keep at it, like, because it doesn't change overnight, you know. Like, took me a long time. Like, I basically kind of was like, got to the point where I was like, all right, well, I'm you know, a invalid, you know. I can't go outside. I'm my anxiety ridden. I've moved back into my parents' attic. Like, I'm fucked. I'll never have a job, a girlfriend, anything again, you know. Like, I had come to that point. So I wasn't even really thinking along those lines of ever, like, I was like hoping that I could work at a grocery store at some point, you know, like that I could like get back into the workforce in some way. And so once I kind of got better to when I say get better, I should say, like, you know, I'm bipolar, and I struggle with anxiety and depression, and like, I still struggle with it, you know. Like, I'm not cured, and I never will be, and that's okay. Like, I take medicine, I do the things I need to do, I talk to the people I need to talk to, and I manage it. And it's like, there's plenty of people with fucking terrible conditions in this world, and they manage it, and they have great lives. You know, there's people that can't see, there's people that have to take insulin twice a day, you know, there's all sorts of, you know, there's people in wheelchairs, you know. It's like, in the scheme of things, I'm very lucky to have the life I have. So it's fine. But yeah, so I didn't think of it. I wasn't even like thinking of jokes during that time, which was for the first time in 10 years, I stopped thinking of jokes. Like, I wasn't even looking at things in light of like, is this something I can talk about in a funny way? You know, that was gone. Nothing was funny to me in my life. And but as soon as I came back, as soon as I started to slowly resume comedy and kind of get back on my feet, I knew that the whole experience, I didn't know which parts of it, but I knew the whole experience of kind of having this sort of complete mental breakdown. I knew that there were many funny moments in there, with the benefit of hindsight, they're funny, you know. Like, I knew that I would talk about that, and that I would mine that for material. And I still, do have some aspirations to make it into a one-man show at some point, you know, like that's just not my strong suit. I'm much more of a joke writer than I am a storyteller. But you know, it's something I'm working on. So I would like to kind of weave the whole story in with some other, you know, some aspects of me being sober, and like when I first initially kind of was diagnosed, I have a grander idea for it at some point, but who knows if that'll happen or not. But yeah, as soon as I got back into comedy, I knew at some point I was going to start mining that material, mining those experiences for comedy.
Right. And you talk about, you know, getting that hindsight perspective of it. I think that's something that you offer people who are struggling with it, or know somebody who are struggling with it, when you tell that joke too, because when they see that somebody else has made light of it, or found the humor in it and been able to laugh at it, that just offers a new perspective. That offers that sort of, even if they're currently going through it, just the idea that, oh, this, like, there is more to it than what I'm going through right now. I feel like it expands the picture.
It's just so hard to see when you're in it, man.
Yeah.
It's so hard to see when you're in it. And so I hope it can, that's what I hope it does. And it's like, you know, I'm already done, like in terms of doing what I would want from it. I've already gotten enough messages from like going on a few bigger podcasts and that TikTok video. I've already gotten enough positive messages where I'm like, well, whatever fucking happens with that material, that was worth it.
Yeah.
Because it made people laugh. And I've gotten in the hundreds of messages of thankful messages from people that suffer from similar illnesses to me. And so it's like, that's already like paid in full, you know. Great. Like anything else is a bonus at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, one person's experience now, just even impacting two people, like you've done well with it. So no, that's awesome. Now the bit itself, in writing the jokes for it itself, like there's a little bit of, like, I don't want to say silliness, with like yelling down to your mom, that evokes memory, that evokes a connection in everybody. Because you know, for the most part, when you yell down to mom, it's like, Mom, like, what? Like, come help me with homework or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And it's like with a lot of jokes, with a lot of our jokes, with a lot of my jokes, at least, you know, there's some people that are real sticklers, but for me, it's what I call a comedian's truth. Like that the way I tell it is not exactly how it went down. Like what, you know, if I'm being honest, I yelled for my mom. She couldn't hear me. She never yelled. She was on the phone. I eventually got the nod off. That's the real story, you know, but it's like close enough that I'm spicing it up a little bit to make it fun, you know, like, like those are the parts that are okay to lie about. It'd be a little weird if I was like, I never hung myself, but I did once yell to my mom, you know, but adding her yelling, she's on the phone, is like, I'm fine with juicing that up a little bit, you know, like, cause that's just funny. But, I mean, that did happen. I yelled for my fucking mom because I was like, Jesus Christ, I just tried to kill myself and it didn't work, you know, and I'm stuck on the floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know who doesn't like that joke? My mom.
I'm sure.
And it did not really occur to me. I'm so dumb. It did not really occur to me that like I had been like mulling it over in my mind so much and like making that experience okay and like silly, you know, that it didn't occur to me how like brutal it probably was in my mom's memory of like driving her son to the emergency room because he hung himself from his neck. Like, and she, my parents, they don't watch a ton of my comedy. Like they're very supportive of my comedy, but they're not like, I'm always weirded out when someone's like, my parents come to every show. And I'm like, that must be weird. But like, They don't, but they were in one of the very first times I did that joke. My brother lives in Chicago, and my parents were in Chicago visiting my brother, and I was doing a one-nighter on my way out to some other club, and I did that material. My mom was crying, and I was like, fuck, dude, I would have still done it, but I would have talked to her ahead of time. Cause like it didn't occur to me like, oh, this is something that's been on my mind, like thought through, like made silly, all that. To her, it's just this fresh, wounded memory of like her son trying to kill himself, like it's not funny. But also, she needs to grow up a little bit. Okay. If you're going to come out to the comedy club, get ready to laugh, lady.
Yeah.
Right. This doesn't get a disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's like, I built to the bit.
Yeah. You knew what was going to happen, Mom. You were there. All right. It's fine.
That's why that is something that we don't, take into account.
Yeah.
Too much. But, again, like is mom going to make or break whether a joke works or not?
Yeah.
So in other cases, like how has being able to laugh kind of helped you? I mean, because you say it's a process, and it is a process. Like, this isn't like if I have this thought or if I do this one thing, like, if I meditate on Tuesday, it's going to be better. Like, that's not how it works. So is there like a way that you find the humor in things when you start to feel like,
oh, just like, man, like I said, like I honestly thought I'd be lucky if I could get into a state of health where I could do any job, like any fucking job in the world. Like I really thought I was permanently disabled. I basically had this crippling anxiety that went along with my depression, that I just couldn't leave the house without kind of being in a panic attack. So, so there's this amazing joy in being able to come back to this profession that is such a fucking lucky profession to have, to tell jokes for a living. It's like stupid. It's a stupid job, like it's not even a job, and it's great. Like, so there's this joy every day of being like, God damn it. Like I made it back to this, like, and, I recorded an album when I came back. That album has basically been paying me all through COVID, which has been amazing. And it's like just all these things that are like the distance I've come from where I was mentally, like thinking in terms of thinking what I would be able to do, is just so, man, it's unbelievable to me. And so, yeah, there's this, man, you feel free because it's like, I don't give a shit if this joke bombs. I thought I was never going to be able to leave my parents' attic. Like, I don't give a fuck if I don't get a Comedy Central half hour. Suck my dick, I hung myself, you idiots. Like, what are you going to do to me? Like, I don't, it's freeing. It's so freeing, man. Cause it's like, it put everything into perspective of like, oh, geez, like things are good, like, I don't need the industry or the, of course you need money to eat and all that. And that's all I really want, like support my family, tell jokes. It's great. Yeah.
Right. And like you were saying, I mean, you don't have to be in a big market. You can just with the internet, I mean, you can put your album on dozens of platforms and people pay money for it. Also, very good album. It's a lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Desiree. For those of you listening, definitely check that out. It's on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you can get albums. Amazon, I'm sure.
I'll just give you one if you want to. Call me.
You can't laugh at that.
You Can't Laugh at That is brought to you by Water Cooler Comedy. Now, for too long, we've been asking the question, should work be focused on work or fun? But Mark Twain once said that work and play are two words used to describe the same thing under different circumstances. So my point is that we're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, should work be work or fun, the question should be, how can we make work fun? Whether it's a keynote speech, a half-day workshop, a 90-day consulting program, a customized corporate comedy experience for you and your team as you try to figure out how to reboard, how to get back to work after working virtually for a year. Why humor in the workplace? Well, studies have shown that humor builds resilience. It allows us to adapt to problems more quickly, more creatively, and more It allows us to adapt to problems more quickly, more creatively, and more collaboratively. It allows us to adapt to not being able to say collaboratively correctly. Because not only does laughter make us feel better, it makes us work better too. So why not make work the time and place to laugh? Check out watercoolercomedy.org.
You can't laugh at that.
When did you start doing comedy? Did you start in Cleveland or did you?
Yeah, I started in Cleveland. Basically, me and Ramon Rivas did. We each did, I think, a little something before, but we pretty much started on the same day at the Bella W open mic, which at the time, so Bella W was a little.
It's Taco Tantos now, and they have an open mic there too.
Okay, so it was a little coffee shop in Lakewood, and at the time, Jim Tooze was hosting the open mic. I don't know who started it. Poke might have started it. So that was really where I would hit up. I would do a fair amount of stuff at like the Euclid Tavern, because I was over on the east side. The Grog Shop, I did a few things at the Grog Shop, but stuff wasn't really happening at the Grog Shop at that time. Before I moved, I never was really in at Hilarities. I would do, I was kind of just doing those Lakewood open mics really, and there wasn't nearly the scene it is now. It was still a good scene. It was a decent scene, but I also did not stay for long at all because I started late. I was not too late. I don't have a problem with it, but I was almost 28 when I started. And so I very quickly was like, okay, I'm bad. I know I'm bad because I'm new. I know I'm bad, but I think I'm really good for being bad. I think I'm really good for how bad you're supposed to be at this point. I'm going to move to New York. And I moved to New York 6 or 7 months in, and it was a tough learning curve, but I was glad I did it, man. I don't think there's anything wrong with staying or going, but man, you're just thrown into just kind of a wolf den of fucking the best open micers from every city in America, and you just gotta figure out a way to stand out, and you'd be at the same open mics every night with the same comics, and it was so if you weren't writing, everyone knew. It was it was more of a system of accountability where you couldn't just go up telling the same jokes because you'd look like an idiot.
Now, does that hamper the ability to work out one specific bit, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. It's a tough system. Until you start getting booked on actual shows there, it is kind of hard because that first year, and it's changed a little bit now. Most of the people coming now are kind of coming, they sort of already know a lot of people. When I was coming, it was everyone coming didn't know anyone, and you kind of had to build your way up. And so before you were getting booked on shows, it was kind of hard because it was there's all this pressure to do new all the time, but at the same time you couldn't perfect a bit. you know, but it worked out. It works out.
Yeah, I did sketch when I lived out there. I didn't start doing stand-up until I moved back to Cleveland, and it was a few years. But that was a like, if you were doing improv, you had to get up and you had to at least rehearse every day, because you could tell, like, you know, and I use that to kind of motivate me too now, even though I'm in Cleveland. It's like, if I'm not writing, or if I'm not at least, like, you know, going back through old bits or working on some level, like, somebody else is going to pass me. And that's like that, you know, you can maintain that mentality even if you're not in one of the big cities.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of my like thinking moving, is like, okay, I've established these habits. I know how I work. I know what I need to do to work. Time to go fucking live where I want to live, you know, which is not New York City.
Yeah. Would you say, to an extent, that comedy is therapy for you? I know that's like a kind of a cliche, you know. Comedy, stand-up is my therapy, but different levels.
I don't think I would. I don't think I. Well, like, no, I wouldn't. It is what I think. What it is a little bit of like. It's less therapy. It's less working stuff out, and more just validate. It's more validating. Yeah. You know, that feeling of going up there and doing well and being like, I gave these people what they came here wanting. Like, they're laughing at me. They're telling me I'm okay. Like, this is nice. This is a nice feel. It's more just like it's more like getting into a hot tub. It's like a pleasure. To me, it's just like a pleasurable, like, good, validating, nice feeling. More than I guess that, yes, that's a type of therapy. Now that I talked it out, yeah.
And that's what's helped me. Like, I haven't gone through what you've gone through with mental health, but I mean, everybody has anxiety, and I used to suppress it. But now, if I have an anxiety attack, like, I try to get on stage as soon as possible, and then like have a couple things, because I like to manifest. I like to, like, bring my thoughts out, because when you're going through something like that, you're not thinking clearly. Right. You're you know, the thoughts that go through your head are pretty absurd. You know, you wouldn't think those things if you were just having a regular day. And so I tend to riff on those on stage, and like getting laughs about those kind of creates that connection that, like, I'm not the only one that has had those thoughts or that has experienced that. Yeah. But I think, you know, when people say that stand-up is therapy, it's like, it's not therapy. Actual therapy is therapy. It's that, like, short-term good feeling, you know, the endorphins and things like that. Yeah. But actually go.
Yeah. Hey, man, you got to go to therapy. Like, It's always those guys that say that. No, stand-up's therapy. It's like, dude, you're crazy. Yeah. I've seen you. I've seen your behavior. Stand-up is not therapy. Also, it's not drug rehabilitation. So you've got to get on both those trains.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's like, you can have the positive thoughts, but you got to, like, do the action. Like, you got to do something to go with it. Otherwise, you're just it's just a waste.
Yeah. It's always funny to me, man. Like, people are so, like, and I'm fine, man. Anything that gets people talking about stuff, I'm okay with it. But people are so willing to, like, try and cure you. When, like, first of all, I'm already doing really well. Like, I've got my situation controlled nicely, and, like, things are going well. But, like, the things people will say after show, like, "Oh, have you ever tried jogging?" And it's like, dude, I got fucking electroconvulsive therapy. They shocked my brain 17 times. But yeah, you're right. I never thought of going for a run in the park. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought it up. Like, it's like,
I wish I'd have known that before I paid all the money.
Yeah. I wish I would have taken that into consideration. It's like, yes, I've tried fucking exercise, you idiot. But yeah, I mean, and the truth is exercise is a big part of like what keeps me healthy now. But this idea that people come up to me and just suggest it as an alternative to everything else I have to do is
Have you tried turmeric?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, apple cider vinegar, a shot a day can really do wonders. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the kind of shit. And you're like, man, they electrocuted my brain, you dickhead. I've tried everything. Trust me.
That wasn't the first option.
Yeah. Trust me. I didn't jump straight to that. I didn't go, I feel a little sad. Let me go 100% One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, that's what other people's perception of it too. That is like ripe for material. I mean, there's so much that I'm sure that people have come up to you and suggested like.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking a while, but like, yeah, because I also am like, I don't know if I was doing it that week at Hilarious, but I also am like want to talk about the electroshock therapy because that's a thing that has a really bad rap. It's like statistically a very effective treatment, and it just is considered barbaric, and it's not barbaric the way they do it now, and it's a very effective treatment, but it's just really weird because anyone you tell it to is like they don't do that anymore, and you're like, well, they did it to me, so
then I went to a real weird hospital.
Yeah. I got pranked pretty bad then. Like between the two of us, I think I know if they still do it. But
I think they probably imagine it like Clockwork Orange or something.
Oh, exactly. No, they imagine it exactly like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like biting a leather strap, like whole body convulsing, and it's like no, they put you under, and it's effective. It's very effective, but I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about it because it didn't work for me, and so I don't want to like give it a bad rap because I saw people in the mental hospital like just cured, just fucking lives changed from it. So I don't want to like give it a bad rap because it didn't exactly work for me. But it's a weird thing, man.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where like not everything is going to work for everybody.
Right.
Like, when comics give advice on this show, that's what worked for you or what didn't work for you, and it might work great for somebody else. So it's like, it's not really giving it a bad rap. It's it worked for Goldman, his bit about that, which the Great Depression. I don't want to say he like made it okay, but he really did. Like that whole album just around that experience that he had with depression was really well done. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Well, I love Gary, and Gary I think is one of the greats. I deliberately will not listen to that album because I'm working on so much similar stuff. I don't want to pollute my brain with possible ideas that then might leak in later into my ideas. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm a little weird about that, where I'm like, okay, if I know somebody's doing the same subject matter as me, I don't want to hear it because I don't want any chance of it influencing the way it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to just outright steal it. That's not the kind of comic I am, but I don't want it to leak in or influence
the perspective.
Yes.
Like unique. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I want to make sure I maintain my view on it. And Gary's so good that I'm like, I also don't want to get, because I get in my own head about stuff. I don't want to watch it and be like, well, I can't do that. You know, like my shit's not going to be that. So why am I even fucking talking about, you know, where it's like, no, there's no, we each had our own experience, you know?
Yeah.
And Gary's great. And I watch it someday, you know, I just, avoid it for now. It's the same reason why I don't really watch any not the same reason, similar reason I don't watch any Hedberg, because Hedberg's my favorite ever, but I will lapse into his cadence. I will do it, and if I watch it, I'll do it. And so I just don't watch it because I know that I can be spongy, and I can, like, there's this kid in St. Louis, very funny, hosted for me at the St. Louis Funny Bone, really funny dude, dark one-liners, had a rough time of it because a dark one-liner guy shouldn't host, but you have to you have to start somewhere, you know, like, so like it just great one-liners. And he came up to me, he was like, dude, he was like, I don't know what to do. I'd like your opinion on this. There's comics around saying I sound like Jeselnik. I don't know what you think, and I don't know what I should do about it. I was like, well, okay, first of all, you do. Second of all, do you watch a lot of Jeselnik? And he was like, yeah, he's my favorite. I was like, yeah, well, stop. And it's fine. Like, you're not stealing his jokes. You're just slipping into his cadence. Almost everyone does that in their first year or two. And so, I mean, I remember there was a time when I would hear tons of Attels. I would hear tons of Birbiglias, you know, Pete Holmes. It would happen to a lot. Guys would do a Pete Holmes cadence. Trying to think who else you hear a lot. I don't know, but yeah, it's like, I was like telling him, like, yeah, dude, you're not stealing jokes. It's fine. Just stop listening to them. It'll go away and you'll talk in your own voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how that stuff just kind of leaks into it, what we do.
Hear a lot of Hannibal Buress too.
Right. Yes. Yes. A lot of, yes, that was big. That was really big for a while. A lot of Hannibal. And like, that's the thing. It's like, people act like it's this horrible thing. And it's like, no, just stop listening to them. It's like, how do you think a musician learns? They listen to other musicians, then try and sound like it. Like, it's not,
right. Not I've never heard of music before.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so true.
It's not a fucking crazy thing to have happening. Just don't steal jokes and stop listening to that person. Like, you'll be fine.
Too soon.
There's any number of ways to find the humor in this situation. You know, the old tragedy plus time equals comedy kind of that trope.
Yeah,
but it is true. You know, there are some people who right away are like, oh, I gotta get on stage, or I gotta find what's funny here.
Yeah,
those are sociopaths.
Right.
I consider myself one of them. It's hard for me to process other people's like depression, because right now, you know, seasonal depression is a thing, and you know, every once in a while my girlfriend will you know, say I'm feeling depressed, and like my brain is like, oh, there's a joke here, but then I don't do it. I've learned not to.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so and that's, to me, is what's funny, is my like inhumane reaction, like mental response to it. So then I'll shift to write about that. So, you know, there are any number of ways to find the humor in this situation. So if you could give like any advice to an inexperienced comic, as far as like, if they want to write a bit about what they're going through as far as, you know, their mental health, what would you say to them?
Oh man, I honestly, I don't know that I'm that qualified to give you any advice on that. I would say literally the only fucking thing that matters, if you're, you know, less than 4 years in, just get up on stage as often as you can. And I know that's weird with COVID, but once this all, like, just get up on stage as often as you can, because I promise you, almost every single bit you write during these couple of first years, you're not going to end up keeping it, like some of them you might, but for the most part, you won't. Just get up on stage as much as you can. And I wouldn't worry about trying to direct your writing towards like, oh, I want to write about X. I want to write about Y. I would worry about letting what you think is funny direct what you write. I thought this was funny. Okay, write a joke about that. Don't set out to write a joke. I need to write a joke about the Capitol insurrection. Well, if there was nothing you found funny about it, watching the news or anything, you don't need to write a fucking joke about it. Like let your concept of what's funny guide what you write about. So in other words, if you have something that has struck you as funny about mental health, your own mental health, then go down that route. That's fine. But if there's not, and you just feel like you're needing to make a statement about it, I would say probably let the funny guide you first, and then you'll start finding funny in more and more things as you become more experienced. But then again, like David was saying, man, there's no fucking right or wrong answers in this thing. Like you can take my advice, not take my advice. I don't know if the only thing I know is like, look, if you want to be good at the violin, you practice the violin all the time. Stand up, you can't really practice unless there's a crowd there, because it's not the same thing. So get up as much as you can. That's the only thing I know is for sure helpful. Like that's the only thing I know is pretty rock solid advice. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. You also do have to work hard. Like it's not nothing. There are some lucky souls who are just naturally blessed with the gift of being instantaneously hilarious, with not too much work, but that's extremely rare. So work hard, get up. I wouldn't worry about too much else, really.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about writing, for me, it's always my focus has always been just being like eliciting as much laughter as possible. I know that it like really boils down to like not just making people laugh, but like just making people laugh as much as possible. Don't worry about like anything else. Like just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the job, right? Like that's what we're doing. We are trying to make people laugh, and sure, if you can get, and I think it's important to do that in a way that's true to ourselves, like I don't think any of the three of us are doing that in a way where we're like selling out our own ideals, or like, saying something to make people laugh that we know is wrong or disagree with. But yeah, I 100% agree. It's like, let the funny guide you if you're new, and then worry about the big stuff later on, like you don't need I got on television the first time with a joke about jacking off, a joke about what the fuck was that? Where did I open? A joke about trimming my pubes, a joke about a guy pronouncing radiator wrong, and that might have been it. Those might have been the three jokes that got me on TV for the first time. So it doesn't fucking matter what you're talking about. Like, just make it funny, like it doesn't, don't feel like you've got to tackle big subjects right off the bat, because they are harder. They are harder to make funny. Like that's definitely a fact. They're not, because you're going in a hole. You're going in with with the deck stacked against you a little bit, because the audience is going to be a little touchy about what you're talking about if you're taking on a deep subject. So if you're just starting out, man, just like Steve said, just worry about laughs, man.
Yeah, sure, you can figure out calculus, but it's way easier if you've got algebra under your belt first.
Yeah, that's like when it's kind of like I coach soccer when I used to coach kids, and like I would get so mad because, you know, the United States, we never produce any pure goal scorers. And it's because in other countries, they don't give a fuck about the kids passing. And I'd get so mad, the parents would be like, pass the ball, Timmy. And it's like, I literally told them, if they don't want to pass, don't pass, because dribble through the whole fucking team. I don't care. Like, you're 8 years old. That's how you're going to get good. You can learn to pass when you're 14. It's real easy, you know, like for now, learn how to dribble through a guy and score a goal, you know? And I don't think that analogy really measured up, but
learn how. Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't get caught up in your subject matter too early, is what I'm saying. And I wouldn't let people, I guess I wouldn't let, like, look, don't do some shit that's been done a million times, but I also wouldn't let people get in your head too much about any one particular subject being hack. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, look, don't do a fucking airline food joke that's not some new crazy take, but if someone's telling you like, hey, don't do that dirty stuff or don't do this, it's like, dude, just learn how to get a laugh and then go from there. Like, don't let people tell you what to do and not to do, really.
Right. Hack is more if you don't get better. Like, if you don't, if you start by telling jokey jokes, but you know, if you're still telling the same jokey jokes 5 years later, it's like,
and like, I mean, yes, the same one's not great, but if you're still telling jokey jokes, but they're better jokey jokes, and they're, because I love jokes, man. I'm more of a joke writer than I am a kind of a stand-up. And I'm not a one-liner guy, really. I have a few, but like my favorite guys are one-liner guys. Like, I love that shit, but you know, just make sure you're getting better.
Now, do you start with a joke and then build the bit around that? Or, I mean, I'm sure it's different depending on the subject.
I normally start with premise. I start with an idea that I think is funny. So I don't usually start with like a punchline. Like, I usually start with like, I wish I had my notebook. I don't have my notebook here. But like, I'll start with something that I noticed that was funny, and kind of just write on that. And like, so here's a note I have in my phone, and I forgot about this, but like, so my girl had all these like parenting books, like when we were getting ready for the baby, you know, but like, I'd read them, and then you read the back, and it's like, Dr. Lawrence Feinberg is a PhD from Yale and so, and he has 2 children, Maxwell, age 7, and Isla, age 5. And it's like, wait, hold on, man. Like, they're not even fucking done, and you're writing a book? Like, that's you don't write a cookbook while the cake's still in the oven. Like, tell me, like, I want to read a book by a parent of an astronaut. You know what I mean? Like, and like, so I start from there, like, just things that I notice, and I'm like, that's weird. That's not. That's funny, like, I think maybe, and then I'll write that down, and I'll kind of try and write out a joke from there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Or other times I just will take that, like, if I'm feeling loose and I'm going to do a bar gig or some shit, I'll just take that idea up on the stage and talk that out and see.
There was one more thing that I wanted to talk about, just kind of like the other things that are funny about mental health. We kind of talked a little bit about other people's perception of it and like their response to it. I always like to kind of look at it from an outsider of society, like how people treat mental health. Like, so it's a new development. Like we're learning so much more about the brain now that we're learning all these new things, and it was kind of stigmatized. And there's the joke, or I think it was Goldman, but the antidepressants back in the day were like, walk it off, and just go outside, and
Right.
you'll be fine. And so there's a lot of material there. I don't know if you have anything kind of about that, about like other people's.
Well, I had some thoughts, and I've never really gotten anywhere with them. But like I have some writing about kind of about that, about how like this, like at least this is a great time to be mentally ill, because like as someone who's anxious and who's like depressed and anxious, like 70 years ago I would be just a sad coward. Like they at least there's like better words now, like at least it is a sickness, but like, yeah, I don't have too much along those lines. I don't know. I just, I was doing a thing, and I try and stay away from stuff that doesn't really, I don't do a lot of topical stuff, but I was, when things eased up a little bit, I was doing a thing that was getting some good laughs about how being someone who's lived with depression their whole life, depression and anxiety their whole life, like during a pandemic, and how I'm like, I'm the one-eyed man in the land of the blind, like it's like I've been afraid to go to the grocery store for 20 years. Like I was built for this shit. I haven't gone outside. I haven't gone outside since fucking 2004. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. Yes, but that I don't know. But I do have to go because it's my shift with the baby. I gotta take the baby.
Yeah.
All right.
I just look at it. She doesn't do a lot yet. I just look at her.
Yeah, that's important. That's an important. Was that in the parenting book?
Yeah, my fiance. You might notice I interchangeably call her my girlfriend, my wife, and my fiance, because I just consider us married. Because I feel like having a kid is the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, she gets mad at me because I do a lot of I do a lot of like experiments with the kid, like to see, like I've got a regiment going. I'm trying to get it walking, and because I don't know, maybe it's just because people don't try. You know what I mean? Maybe people have never tried to get kids walking. So I've got her up walking. Where it requires quite a bit of aid for me. I briefly put her head in the freezer while I was getting some ice out, because as I said to my girl, I go, she's never felt that cold before. That's got to be interesting. I was just for a millisecond, because my girlfriend got so mad. I go, it's for a millisecond. That's interesting for her. She never, that's new. And she goes, you can't put a baby's head in the freezer. I go, yes, you can. She loved it. She loved it.
It's gonna be her first word, cold.
Well, she's banned because she really likes hardcore rap music. The baby honestly does, like, won't go to sleep, and then I'll put on the rap that I like, and she goes right to sleep. And my girlfriend is having some trouble with it because she's like, I don't want her for like, you got to get the edited version of some of the, like, we got to be careful with some of these words. And I'm like, it's fine, should be
like
fine.
What, like, for example,
Brother Lynch.
Oh, what does she like? Is it
Yeah.
like Wu-Tang Clan? She likes Ghostface a lot. Her Ghostface is her favorite member of Wu-Tang. She likes she likes we were listening to Tribe Called Quest. She likes that. She likes Joyner Lucas. She got great taste in rap. Biggie. Jay-Z, Tupac, Nas. I'm kind of like she like Gangstar quite a bit. Yeah, she got very eclectic taste. Well versed in hip hop.
That's fun. Yeah, skip the nursery rhymes and just get right to the real stuff.
Get right to the real stuff. That's what I say.
Yeah, she'll be much better off for it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to plug? Social media?
You can check out the Rad Dudecast. I host that with Greg Stone and Anthony DeVito. That's available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow me, Airbud, EYREBUD, on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow, I think, Real Brendan Eyre or The Real Brendan Eyre. Whoever it is, just make sure it's me. But on TikTok, I'm on TikTok. That's my most successful social media platform. I don't really look at it anymore because I ran out of clips until the COVID's over. But you can do that, and then I will be at the great one of my favorite clubs, the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, Indiana, February 27th or 28th. It's a Friday and Saturday. I think 27th and 28th.
Ooh, I think this will be coming out right before that, too.
Perfect. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for being on, man. It is very insightful.
Hold on. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think it was boring? Do you think it was good enough?
Dude, I was engaged the whole time. Yeah.
All right. Because I'll do it again. I'll fucking do it again.
Yeah. We'll set you up with something else. Yeah, when you finish the bit, it'll actually be kind of cool to come back and kind of look at it.
No, I'm saying I'll do this exact episode again right now. If it wasn't good enough.
Word for word?
Yeah, we'll do a read. No, not word for word. We got to change it. We got to spice this thing up. Jeremy, how was it?
It was great. Not enough act outs, but
yeah.
All right,
right. I got crowd work.
I could have humped my Muhammad Ali poster behind me.
Right. Yeah. We were wondering when that was going to happen. It was like Chekhov's gun. It was like, oh, you got to the poster.
Have you played fish scale for your daughter yet?
What's that? Yes, I have actually. But now my wife's cracking down. Yeah. She also likes Sublime. She likes hardcore rap and Sublime.
All across the board. Steve, any parting thoughts this evening?
I can't think of anything off the bat.
All right, cool. All right, well, Brendan, thanks for joining the podcast, and thank you for helping us prove that no matter whether the word is demonstratively or whatever.
Demonstratively.
Yeah, whatever that is. Now I'm confused as to what's real. Whether you're thinking of diving off the Golden Gate Bridge, remember that when it comes to mental health, you can laugh at that.
You can't laugh at that.
Special thanks to Golden Ox Studio. You can find Golden Ox Studio for all your podcasting needs at goldenoxstudio.com. Hit up Jeremy. He is fantastic to work with, a professional. He makes podcasting easy. And if you've been kicking the tires on starting your own podcast, definitely give Golden Ox Studio a look. If you'd like to weigh in on today's topic, follow us on Twitter at YouCan'tLaughPod, or like us on Facebook at You Can't Laugh at That, and tell us how you did laugh at today's topic or how you didn't. This is all about the conversation, is what I'm saying. All right. Bye.